Anayo, you are the only man I know. I've never been with another man before, Kasie replied, her voice trembling. Will you shut up? Anayo thundered, his voice loud and harsh. You think I don't know what you do with other men? You want to pin your bastard child on me. No way this is happening. Once upon a time, in a tiny but very pretty village, there was a very handsome young man named Anayo. Anayo was a trader and he had a big shop in the Orie market of Okigwe village. His shop was always busy with people buying all sorts of things. Anayo was not just handsome. He was incredibly good looking and he knew it very well. Because of his looks, many young girls in the village were always trying to get his attention. They all dreamed of becoming his wife someday. But Anayo loved the attention more than anything else. He would often tell people that he wasn't ready to get married. Instead, he just wanted to have fun with the ladies who liked him so much. Anayo became known as a terrible womanizer. He would flirt with and try to date every woman he met, not caring about their appearance, size, or shape. He just loved being around women, and they seemed to love being around him too. This made Anayo very happy and he enjoyed his life in the village, surrounded by admirers and having fun every day. He promised to marry a lot of women from the village. This promise he made to them so that he could easily have his way with them. They usually fell for his lies, throwing their bodies at him, and he did with them as he pleased. One sunny afternoon, Anayo was sitting in his shop at the Orie market, thinking about what a great day it was. Suddenly, a very beautiful maiden walked into his shop. She was carrying a big tray filled with fresh, colorful vegetables. Brother, do you want to buy some vegetables? She asked him in a sweet voice. Anayo looked at her and couldn't help but smile. She was really pretty. Of course, why would I say no to buying vegetables from a very beautiful girl like you? You are so pretty, he said, his eyes twinkling. The young girl blushed and smiled shyly. She thought Anayo looked very handsome too. She felt a little nervous but also happy that he noticed her. What's your name? Anayo asked, still smiling and trying to make her feel comfortable. My name is Kasie, and I'm from a neighboring village, she replied, her voice soft and sweet. Wow, Anayo exclaimed. You are just as beautiful as your name. I would love to see you again. Is that possible? Kasie's face lit up with happiness. She couldn't believe how kind and charming Anayo was. He decided to buy all her vegetables. Kasie was overjoyed and thanked him many times, her heart racing with excitement. She couldn't wait to tell her friend about the handsome trader who bought all her vegetables. With a big smile on her face, Kasie hurried home, feeling like she was walking on the air. She kept thinking about Anayo's kind words and his handsome face, hoping she would see him again soon. Kasie was a young orphan girl who lived with her aunt in a neighboring village. She had a very sad story. When she was a little girl, a terrible fire accident took her parents away. Kasie survived by some miracle, and since then she had been living with her aunt Nwaneka. Aunt Nwaneka was a very kind woman. She was married and had 6 children of her own. Life was tough for Auntie Nwaneka's family because there were so many mouths to feed and not enough food. Everyone had to work very hard just to have enough to eat. Kasie felt grateful to her aunt for taking her in, so she worked very hard to help and support the family. She would do chores, sell vegetables, and do anything she could to make life easier for her aunt and cousins. Meanwhile, Anayo couldn't stop thinking about Kasie. Her image stayed in his mind and he remembered how beautiful and innocent she looked. Anayo liked girls who were sweet and innocent, and Kasie was exactly that. He thought about how she blushed when he complimented her, and he decided that he wanted to see her again. His mind was filled with dirty thoughts of what he could do with Kasie. He made up his mind that he would do anything to win her over. He didn't care what it took, he just wanted to have her on his bed and know exactly what she tasted like. This thought alone excited him and made him laugh so hard. He couldn't wait to see her again. He didn't realize that Kasie's life was already so difficult and his intentions, though exciting to him, was going to hurt her and bring more trouble into her simple life. All Anayo knew was that he had to find a way to lure her into his bed. A few days later, Kasie found her way to Anayo's shop again, carrying a tray of fresh vegetables. This time, her heart was beating fast for more than one reason. Yes, she wanted to sell her vegetables, but more importantly, she wanted to see Anayo again. Since their last meeting, she couldn't stop thinking about him. She remembered the way he looked at her, and she felt a warm, happy feeling in her heart. Kasie hoped that Anayo felt the same way, and that they had a special connection. What she didn't know was that Anayo was known for being a big flirt and charming many girls. When Anayo saw Kasie walk into his shop, his face lit up with excitement. He quickly offered her a cold drink, which made Kasie feel so special and happy. She started daydreaming about what it would be like to be his wife. Anayo was so gentle and kind, always knowing the right words to make her blush and smile. They spent a lot of time talking and laughing, as Anayo had promised to buy all her vegetables again. Kasie felt like she was in a dream. As Kasie was getting ready to leave, Anayo asked her to visit his house that weekend. "I would love you to visit me this weekend. I'm making a special dish and I want us to enjoy it together," he said with a charming smile. Kasie was over the moon with excitement. "What?" she exclaimed softly, barely able to contain her joy. The thought that this handsome young man wanted her to visit his home made her feel so special. She thought to herself, "This really means that he really likes me." She decided she would borrow some nice clothes from her friend Adugo to look her best. Kasie was falling for Anayo more and more each day. Later, Kasie rushed to tell Adugo about Anayo's invitation. "I'm so happy for you, my friend," Adugo said, smiling. "Very soon, you will get married. I'm already missing you." Kasie and Adugo laughed together. "He hasn't asked me to marry him yet," Kasie said, trying to stay realistic. "So, I'm still pretty much around. But with the way everything is moving quickly, he might ask you soon," Adugo replied with a wink. Kasie thought about this for a while. She really wished Anayo would ask her to marry him. The idea filled her with hope and happiness. She dreamed of the day Anayo would propose, imagining it as the happiest day of her life. That day would mark the end of all her hardship and the beginning of a beautiful new chapter with Anayo. Kasie's heart was full of dreams and excitement as she prepared for her visit to Anayo's house. The day of the visit finally arrived and Kasie was filled with nervous excitement. She wanted everything to be perfect. Early in the morning, she got up and started getting ready. She carefully wore the beautiful clothes her friend Adugo had lent her. The clothes fit her so perfectly, making her look very lovely. Kasie also took extra care to style her hair neatly, making sure every strand was in place. She wanted to look her best for Anayo. And when she looked in the mirror, she felt happy with how she looked. As Kasie walked to Anayo's house, her heart was pounding with anticipation. She couldn't wait to see him again. When she finally arrived, Anayo's eyes lit up with joy. He was so excited to see her. "You look beautiful, Kasie," he said, admiring her neatly styled hair and her lovely outfit that showed off her perfect curves. His compliments made Kasie blush and smile. Anayo welcomed Kasie into his home. It was a cozy little place and Kasie felt comfortable and welcomed. Anayo had prepared a special meal just for them. They sat down and enjoyed the delicious food together. As they ate, they talked and laughed, sharing stories and learning more about each other. Anayo made Kasie feel very special with his kind words and charming smile. He told her how happy he was that she came to visit him and how much he enjoyed her company. Kasie couldn't help but feel a flutter in her heart every time Anayo looked at her. She felt so happy and special. Before Kasie knew what was happening, Anayo's hands were all over her, touching her gently. She felt a mix of emotions and tried to resist him, feeling that it was too soon for such closeness. But Anayo began to speak to her in a soft, loving voice, saying all kinds of sweet words. "I love you so much and I can't resist you," he said, looking into her eyes. These words made Kasie's heart melt. She loved him too and she wanted to believe everything he was saying. Anayo promised that he would marry her and take good care of her. He told her how special she was to him and how much he cared about her. Kasie felt her guard coming down. She trusted Anayo and believed that he truly loved her. This was her first time, and he promised to be gentle with her. That evening was a memorable one for Kasie, as she gave her virginity to Anayo, thinking he really loved her. They met again and again, and with each meeting, Kasie felt more in love with Anayo. She trusted him completely, believing all his promises. One day, Kasie discovered she was pregnant. At first, she was overjoyed. The thought of becoming Anayo's wife and starting a family with him filled her heart with excitement. She imagined how wonderful it would be to finally escape the days of hardship and start a new happy life with the man she loved. With her heart full of hope, Kasie went to share the news with Anayo. She couldn't wait to tell him. But when she finally told him, she was met with a shocking reaction. "What?" Anayo exclaimed, his voice twisted in surprise. "You are what?" Kasie stared at him, her excitement turning to confusion. "I'm pregnant," she repeated softly, hoping he just needed a moment to understand. But instead of joy, Anayo's face showed anger. "So, who's responsible?" he demanded, looking at her with a mocking expression. "Anayo, you are the only man I know. I've never been with another man before," Kasie replied, her voice trembling. "Will you shut up?" Anayo thundered, his voice loud and harsh. "You think I don't know what you do with other men? You want to pin your bastard child on me? No way this is happening." Hot tears streamed down Kasie's cheeks as she watched the man she thought she knew turn into a total stranger. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. "But you promised to marry me," she stammered. "What do I do now?" she cried, her heart breaking. "All you have to do is find the father of your bastard child," Anayo said coldly. "Come to think of it, what even made you think I could marry a vegetable hawker like you? If you don't leave my shop this very minute, I might do something I would regret. I'm not ready to marry now. Not even you." Kasie couldn't believe her ears. The words cut through her like a knife. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she turned and walked away from the shop, her heart aching with pain and betrayal. She felt lost and hopeless. Her aunt had 6 children already, and now Kasie was going to have a baby too. What was she going to do? How could she even face her aunt and tell her what had happened? As she walked home, Kasie's mind raced with worry. She needed to figure out something before her aunt found out. Her heart was heavy with sorrow and fear. The dreams she had of a happy life with Anayo were shattered, and she felt alone and scared. Kasie knew she had to be strong, but at that moment, all she could do was cry as she made her way back to her aunt's house, wondering what her future would hold. The next day, Kasie gathered all her courage and went back to Anayo's shop, hoping that he might have had a change of heart overnight. She wanted to plead with him to make him understand the seriousness of her situation. But when she arrived, Anayo's response was just as harsh as before. He kicked her out of his shop furiously, showing no sign of remorse or kindness. Kasie's heart sank as she realized that her situation was hopeless. She had no idea how she would face her aunt, who would eventually discover her pregnancy. A few weeks later, Kasie's worst fears came true. Her aunt found out that Kasie was pregnant. Anger and disappointment filled her aunt's eyes as she demanded to know who was responsible. With tears streaming down her face, Kasie told her everything about Anayo and what had happened. Her aunt, determined to seek justice, arranged a meeting between her family and Anayo's family. A date was set for both families to come together and discuss the situation. When the day arrived, tension filled the air as Anayo's family confronted him. Anayo, his mother, scolded angrily. "You put this young girl in the family way, and now you want to deny the pregnancy? No way. I have seen you sneaking her into the house a couple of times, and I have no doubt you are responsible. You must marry her." Anayo stood silent, his face a mix of shame and anger. He knew he was responsible for Kasie's pregnancy, but he had tried to play smart and deny it. Now, with his family involved, he felt trapped. He didn't know what to do. "But I'm not ready to settle down for marriage," Anayo protested weakly. "You are ready," his father cut instantly. "I have always warned you about your womanizing habits, but you never listened. Moreover, you are over 30 years old. What are you waiting for to take a wife? You must take away this shame that you brought upon this orphan, or the ground will curse you." The firmness in his father's voice left no room for argument. Anayo knew that this was final. His heart boiled with anger towards Kasie. He felt that everyone was forcing him into this marriage, and he resented Kasie for it. He decided that if he had to marry her, he would make her life miserable as a form of revenge. Kasie, unaware of Anayo's growing anger, hoped that the marriage would bring some stability and end her suffering. Little did she know that Anayo was planning to teach her a bitter lesson. Her heart was filled with mixed emotions as she prepared for the wedding, hoping for a better future but fearing the unknown. The wedding wasn't a grand celebration. It was just a simple closed-door ceremony between the two families. Kasie, feeling nervous and uncertain, invited her friend Adugo for support. Adugo tried to cheer her up, saying, "Don't worry, I think he is just overwhelmed. He will eventually come around." Her words brought a small comfort to Kasie, who hoped things would get better. However, things didn't change for the better. In fact, they grew worse. Anayo kept his dark promise and made Kasie's life miserable. He treated her with cruelty, starving her and beating her at the slightest provocation. He hurled curses and insults at her, even though she was pregnant. Kasie couldn't believe that this was the same man she had met a few months ago. The kind and charming Anayo had turned into a beast. "You are such a useless girl," he would shout at her. "You want to ruin my life? But I'm going to kill you first." Kasie was desperate to escape the torment. She tried running back to her aunt, seeking refuge, but her aunt advised her to return to Anayo. "Just try as much as you can to be a good wife," her aunt said. "Do everything he wants and the way he wants it to avoid him hitting you. He is your husband, and it's not our culture to leave our husband's house. Look at me. I've been surfing with Chike for years. I work hard to feed my children and support the home. Chike brings in so little, but I'm still here. You have to go back to your husband. Everyone has their own cross to carry, and I wouldn't want the villagers to start murmuring. Also, keep praying for him. With time, he will change." Kasie felt utterly broken. She wished she had somewhere else to go, a place where she could find peace and safety. Often, she would sit in the bush and cry her eyes out, feeling trapped and hopeless. She cursed the day she met Anayo, as he had only brought pain and misery into her life. She had suffered all her life, but the agony she was experiencing now was unbearable. Kasie began to think that death might be a better option than the living hell she was enduring. Each day was a struggle for her. She tried to follow her aunt's advice, doing everything Anayo wanted, in an attempt to avoid his wrath, but nothing seemed to appease him. Anayo's cruelty knew no bounds. He found reasons to belittle and hurt her, making her feel worthless. Kasie's dreams of a happy life with him were shattered, replaced by a grim reality of constant fear and pain. Kasie felt completely isolated. She longed for the comfort of her old life, even though it had been hard. At least, then, she had hopes and dreams. Now, her days were filled with dread. She often found herself wishing for an escape. Any escape from the nightmare that her life had become. But every time she thought about running away, she remembered her aunt's words and felt trapped by the expectations and traditions that bound her. Anayo did unimaginable things to her. He would forcefully have sex with her and never stopped bringing in different women into their matrimonial home. Whenever he brought in a woman, Kasie was driven out of their room as he had fun with his new woman. She would sit outside as she listened to them mourn. This hurt her badly and she would cry her heart out. Tears were her constant companion. There was no one she could share her pains with that would understand her. She was heavy with her baby and just had a few months to go. Kasie tried seeking help from her mother-in-law, hoping that she might intervene and make things better. But this only made Anayo angrier. Each time she reported to his mother, he would come home and beat her mercilessly. The beatings became more brutal and Kasie felt more and more hopeless. One day, as Anayo was leaving for his shop, he dumped a heap of dirty clothes in front of Kasie and demanded that she wash them before he returned. Kasie was feeling very sick, but she hoped she would feel better soon and be able to wash the clothes. However, when Anayo returned and saw the clothes still unwashed, his anger exploded. "You are so useless that I can't even begin to imagine," he shouted at her. "You came into my life to destroy it. I asked you to wash ordinary clothes and you couldn't even do that. Tell me, what else are you good for other than getting pregnant? I hate you so much." His voice was filled with venom and rage. Kasie couldn't hold back her frustration and pain any longer. "Then kill me. Kill me, Anayo. I'm sick. I'm weak. I'm dying slowly. You think I still want to be with you? You are so evil," she screamed back, her voice trembling with emotion. "What? You dare talk back at me, Anayo roared. He rushed at her, hitting her with no mercy, not caring that she was heavily pregnant. Kasie's screams filled the air, her pain and agony echoing through the village. The neighbors, who had grown tired of her constant cries for help, knew this time was different. Her screams were filled with a new level of pain and desperation. One of the women in the village, unable to resist the urge to help, quickly ran to Kasie's hut. When she arrived, she found Kasie lying in a pool of blood. Anayo, realizing the severity of what he had done, had fled the scene. The woman raised an alarm and soon more villagers gathered. They quickly arranged to rush Kasie to the small village hospital, hoping it wasn't too late to save her and her unborn child. The scene at the hospital was chaotic. The doctors and nurses worked frantically to stabilize Kasie. Her injuries were severe and they knew it would be a difficult task to save her and her baby. As she lay on the hospital bed, Kasie's mind swelled with fear and sadness. She couldn't believe that Anayo had done this to her. All efforts to save Kasie and her baby proved futile, and she lost her child. Kasie cried bitterly, her heart shattered. She had endured all the beatings and pains for the sake of this child, and now the baby was gone. The loss was unbearable. A few weeks later, Kasie's physical wounds began to heal, but the emotional scars ran deep. Anayo never visited her at the hospital, showing no concern for her well-being. Realizing she couldn't return to the life of abuse and torment, Kasie made a brave decision. She would run away to a faraway village, leaving everything behind. With a heavy heart and a determined spirit, Kasie set off on foot, not knowing where she was going to. But one thing was certain: she wasn't going to stay any longer. She walked for hours, her steps fueled by desperation and hope. The sun began to set and Kasie felt exhausted. She had reached another kingdom far from her own, but she had no place to call home. She prayed silently, asking the gods for provision and guidance. As darkness approached, Kasie's eyes caught sight of a tree filled with ripe mangoes. She was so hungry that the sight of the fruit filled her with a sudden burst of excitement. She hurried to the tree, her mouth watering. Weak and starving, she sat under the tree munching the mangoes hungrily. They tasted like hope and gave her a bit of strength. Night was falling and Kasie knew she needed shelter. She looked around and saw a small hut nearby. The compound looked deserted with no signs of life. Curious and desperate, Kasie decided to check it out. She walked up to the door and gently pushed it open. Inside, she found an empty space, dust covering the floor and cobwebs hanging from the corners. It looked like no one had lived there for a long time. Despite the hut's abandoned state, Kasie felt a flicker of hope. This empty hut could be her new home, a place where she could start fresh. She smiled for the first time in what felt like forever. The hut, though humble and neglected, represented freedom and a chance for a new beginning. Kasie gathered some leaves and branches to make a makeshift bed. She lay down, the hard floor beneath her, but she felt a sense of peace she hadn't felt in a long time. She thanked the gods for guiding her to this place. As she drifted off to sleep, she vowed to build a new life for herself, far away from the pain and suffering she had endured. The next morning, Kasie woke up with the sun shining through the cracks of the hut's wall. She knew it wouldn't be easy, but she was determined to survive and find happiness again. Each day, she explored the area, working on people's farms, gathering food and slowly making the hut more livable. She worked so hard, her spirit unbroken by the hardships she faced. At the end of the day, she would sneak back to the hut, which she now made her home. One evening, after a long, exhausting day of work, Kasie was resting when she heard a tap on the door. Fear gripped her heart. No one had visited her for months, and she wondered who it could be. Hesitantly, she opened the door and was surprised to see an elderly man standing there. "Who are you?" he asked, staring at her with a look of curiosity. Kasie immediately thought this might be the owner of the house. She began to plead with him, her voice trembling. "Please, sir, I had nowhere to go. I'm so sorry for intruding." The man's eyes softened with pity. He gestured for her to sit under the mango tree, and they both sat down. Kasie shared her story with him, her voice filled with sorrow and pain. The man listened intently, his heart aching for her. She looked so young, and it troubled him deeply to hear all she had endured. "How old are you?" he said gently. "I am 18 years old, sir," she replied. The man sighed and began to share his story. "I lived here with my wife, but we had no children. When she died, I couldn't bear to stay here alone, so I moved to the city. I only come here once in a while to clean up the compound and take some fruits. I'm so sorry you had to go through all this." Kasie looked at the man, feeling a strange sense of comfort from his presence. He continued, "This house holds many memories for me. It's been a place of both joy and sorrow. When I saw you here, I was surprised, but now that I know your story, I understand." "Thank you for understanding," Kasie said, her eyes welling up with tears. "I didn't mean to cause any trouble. I just needed a place to stay, somewhere to feel safe." The elderly man nodded. "You are not causing any trouble. You're welcome to stay here as long as you need. This place is big enough for both of us. We can help each other." Kasie felt a wave of relief wash over her. "Thank you so much, sir. You've shown me more kindness than anyone has in a long time." The man smiled warmly. "Call me Papa Nana. You are like a daughter to me now. We will take care of this place together. At least, while I'm far away in the city, I'll be at peace." Papa Nana unlocked the particular room that Kasie had never been able to enter because she had no keys. Inside, he showed her his wooden bed and other household items, giving them to her so she could be more comfortable. Kasie's eyes lit up with happiness and gratitude, and she continued thanking and blessing him for his kindness. A few days later, Papa Nana had to return to the city. Kasie stayed behind, determined to make the most of the opportunities she had been given. She worked tirelessly, and the villagers quickly grew to love her. They often gave her jobs, knowing she was hardworking and trustworthy. Kasie's dedication and cheerful demeanor won the hearts of many. With time, Kasie managed to save up a good amount of money after working in that village for years. She decided it was time to pursue a bigger dream. She had always loved cooking, so she decided to go to the city to learn more about it and start a business of her own. The next time Papa Nnanna visited, Kasie told him of her plans. He was so impressed by her never give up spirit, and he promised to support her in every way he could. He even offered her to stay at his place whenever she moved to the city. "We are now family," he said to her. "I've known you for a few years, and I must say, you are a very good girl." Kasie thanked him. He was more like the father she never had. She moved to the city and enrolled in a catering school, excited to develop her skills in cooking and baking. The school was challenging, but Kasie was very determined. Papa Nnanna supported her in every way he could. He was there to offer her kind words and prayers. He also encouraged her when necessary. Kasie studied hard, practiced tirelessly, and soon graduated with flying colors. After finishing her course, she began picking up various cooking and baking jobs. She baked cakes for birthdays, cooked meals for events, and did everything she could to earn money. Kasie's reputation as a skilled cook spread quickly. She was diligent and always put her heart into her work. She saved every penny she earned, determined to gather enough money to set up her own business. Her dream was to open a small catering business where she could share her love for cooking with others. Kasie's cooking was truly special, and everyone who tasted her meals loved them. One day, she received a call from a client who had previously hired her to prepare a birthday lunch for her daughter. The client said, "I would love for you to handle a food contract. It's for a chief in this city. His children want to celebrate his 70th birthday anniversary. They enjoyed the meal you made for my daughter's birthday party and asked me to reach out to you. They want to meet with you." Kasie was thrilled. This was a huge opportunity. They arranged a meeting at a time that suited both of them. The meeting went very well, and Kasie got the contract. This was a massive chance that could change her life. The chief's family was very wealthy, and they paid her handsomely for her services. With this payment, Kasie finally had enough money to set up her own business properly. On the day of the celebration, people were delighted with the dishes Kasie prepared. Every single dish was perfect, and the guests couldn't get enough. Many of them asked for her contact details, impressed by her talents. Kasie stood at a corner and watched as the guests enjoyed her meal, a smile spreading across her face. She felt a sense of deep satisfaction and joy. As she was lost in her thoughts, she didn't realize that a gentleman was standing before her, trying to get her attention. When he touched her arm, she jolted back to reality. She almost stopped breathing when she saw him. He was so handsome that she couldn't believe her eyes. "I am Ifena," he said with a charming smile. "I've been watching you from a distance. You look beautiful, and your dress suits you perfectly." "Thank you," Kasie replied, smiling shyly. They started talking, laughing, and attending to the guests together. Ifena had a very cheerful spirit, and Kasie found herself enjoying his company immensely. He was fun to be around, and she never felt bored with him. Ifena stayed with her for the most of the ceremony, making her laugh and feel at ease. Eventually, Ifena told her he had something important to do and needed to leave. But before he left, he asked for her phone number. He also asked her out for a dinner. Kasie, feeling a mix of excitement and nerves, told him she would think about it. The event was a great success, and Kasie felt on top of the world. She had not only impressed a lot of people with her cooking, but also met someone who seemed genuinely interested in her. She liked Ifena's personality, but she still couldn't get over what Anayo had done to her. It's been years already, but she still had nightmares, and she was just scared of every single man that came around her. Even though the event was a success, Kasie didn't look happy when she got home. Papa Nnanna noticed her worried expression and asked her what the problem was. She told him about the event and how she met a young man there. He complimented me a lot and even took my phone number. "I think he likes me," she said. "Then what is the problem? Aren't you supposed to be happy?" Papa Nnanna asked, looking confused. Kasie sighed and explained, "I remembered my past. Anayo really hurt me so much, and I don't think I can trust any man again. He was my first love, and he killed the love in me. I don't know, but I see him in every man I meet. I'm just scared. I don't want to go through that again." Papa Nnanna looked at her with a comforting smile. "Look at me, my child. You no longer live in your past. I have lived with my wife for 40 years without any child, and I still loved her regardless. You don't trust any man, but you trust me, which means you can still love and trust. Anayo was never a man, but a beast. Real men don't hit their wives. Talk more of putting you through all he put you through. Do not ever call him a man. There are good men out there, lots of them. I know you need to be careful, but don't close your heart. If Ifena is your type, give him a chance, but do not be blind to red flags." The words, "Anayo is not a man but a beast," kept ringing in Kasie's ears, and she knew Papa Nnanna was right. She had seen good marriages. Her uncle never treated her aunt the way Anayo had treated her, even though her aunt was the sole provider. She thanked Papa Nnanna for his kind words. He had been such a huge support system for her. When Ifena called Kasie decided to go on the dinner date. The date was wonderful, and they got along so well. Everything about the evening was perfect. Ifena was gentle yet fun to be with. He was a successful businessman, and when Kasie learned that he was the chief's youngest son, she was shocked. He was from a very wealthy family, yet so humble. They continued seeing each other, and their bond grew stronger. Ifena was madly in love with Kasie. He loved everything about her, her determination, dedication, and passion. He never stopped talking about her to his parents and siblings. When Kasie noticed that things were getting serious, she shared her story with him. Ifena felt so sorry for her. He didn't know what he had, but I'm glad he made me meet you. You are everything I want in a woman, and I will treat you like the princess you are, he said. Their bond was so strong that soon Ifena was asking Kasie to marry him. Her heart was filled with joy. His family were also happy to meet her. She had thought they wouldn't accept her because of her status, but they were just too kind to her. They made arrangements to visit her village and meet her relatives who had raised her, so they could ask for her hand in marriage properly. Her aunt was surprised to see Kasie. She looked so different and beautiful. When she heard about what Anayo did to her, she was so scared and regretted ever encouraging her to stay with him. They had searched for her throughout the village and neighboring villages, but no one had set their eyes on her. They all thought she was dead. She embraced Kasie, shedding tears of joy, and asked for her forgiveness. Kasie introduced her to Papa Nnanna and the guest she had come with. Her aunt was so happy. She was glad that Kasie had finally found true love. They collected the marriage list and a date for the marriage rites were fixed. It was a small ceremony as the bigger celebration was to take place in the city. Kasie felt a deep sense of contentment and happiness surrounded by the love and support of her new family and friends. She knew she had come a long way from the pain and suffering of her past. Now she was ready to embrace a future filled with love, hope, and endless possibilities. Kasie and Ifena were incredibly happy together. Ifena's siblings and parents embraced Kasie as family, treating her like a princess. Kasie made sure Papa Nnanna was well taken care of, seeing him as the father she had always needed. Life became very kind to Kasie as she found love again. Ifena was the best partner she could ever ask for. Her business also thrived, allowing her to hire many workers to ease her workload. Ifena insisted that he didn't want anything to stress her, ensuring she had all the support she needed. The whole family celebrated joyfully when Kasie announced she was pregnant. From now on, you are not allowed to lift a finger in this house, Ifena declared. I will do all the cooking and everything else. I will take good care of you. True to his word, Ifena was always there taking care of Kasie with love and devotion. One morning, Ifena told Kasie they needed to hire a driver for her. I don't want you to suffer or stress yourself now that you are pregnant. I've contacted a friend and he will send an applicant over tomorrow. The driver will always be on standby driving you around whenever you need. Kasie looked at her husband with admiration. She could hardly believe this was her reality. Ifena made sure she was happy, providing everything she wanted and even more. The next day, the driver arrived. He had plenty of experience and Ifena was confident in his abilities. However, when he brought the driver to meet Kasie, she was shocked to see him. The man standing before her was old, with white hair covering his face and head. What could have happened, she wondered. No one would even recognize him as the once handsome Anayo. Good afternoon, ma, he greeted, bowing his head. He hadn't recognized her yet. Anayo, Kasie called his name. He looked up immediately, recognizing her voice. That voice had haunted him since he fled from the village. Kasie, he said softly, tears streaming down his cheeks as he fell to his knees, begging for her forgiveness. He couldn't believe she was now his potential employer. He cried bitterly, regretting all he had done to her. Life had not been kind to Anayo. Since he left the village, he had suffered greatly. Nothing he did ever seemed to work, and it felt as though the whole universe was against him. He was living with a woman who already had 4 children for him, and they were barely surviving. Lying on the floor, he cried and pleaded for forgiveness. Ifena watched the scene with slight amusement. He didn't feel sorry for Anayo at all. If anything, he wanted to put him behind bars. What a small world, he kept saying. Kasie was lost for words. Watching Anayo brought back all the painful memories of what he had done. Finally, she spoke. Of course, I forgive you. Thank God I didn't end up with a beast like you, otherwise, I wouldn't know this sweet man I call my husband today. I have nothing against you. I think life have punished you enough, but I can't hire you as my driver for the sake of my mental health. I still need time to heal from what you did to me. You can try getting a job somewhere else. Anayo cried, pleading for the job. I really need this job. Please, my children are starving. But Ifena ordered the security to kick him out. As Anayo walked home dejectedly, tears rolling down his face, he reflected on all the harm he had caused Kasie. He remembered that day he left her in a pool of blood and ran away. He thought she was dead. He realized she was right in treating him the way she did. He didn't even deserve her forgiveness, not even one bit. He had just lost a huge opportunity to work for the son of the richest man in the city. Kasie and Ifena lived happily ever after, loving and cherishing each other every day. They were blessed with 3 beautiful children and lived out their dreams, surrounded by love and joy. Hey besties, thank you for watching this amazing story, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. I'd like you to share your thoughts and lessons in the comment section. If you are yet to subscribe to my YouTube channel, kindly hit the subscribe button, and don't just leave, turn on the notification bell so that you get notified whenever we post new stories. Thank you for your love, your support, your kind words. They are so amazing. You guys are just the best. Right now, I have to go and see you in our next story. Bye!